Here?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show, we celebrate the sports equinox, we have a mid-season college football recap, and we preview the big 12 game going down to Stillwater tomorrow afternoon. All this and more coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show.
Texas finally 1-0, finally riding for the brand.
I was watching the A&M LSU game with my father. He's an Aggie. And nothing brought me more joy. To throw the touchdown, he was like, oh no!
You heard it here first from Hunter. Book your plane tickets to Omaha today.
It's on a Saturday night. What y'all doing on Saturday night? Just come to the game.
Athletes come out and support the Longhorns. TCU doesn't have a shot against Texas in this game.
Welcome into the 1-0 Sports Show on this Friday morning. I'm Adam Ogburn, joined alongside by Manny Ramirez. Manny, how are you doing this morning?
Doing good, man. It's a great morning today. Beautiful weather now that we're having in Austin. Trying to get a little cold, a little chilly. It's been a great time.
I know, it actually feels like fall here.
Right?
There's maybe light at the end of the tunnel for those who can't stand the summer temperatures here. We shall see, but it's October. It means it's one of the best sports times of the year. We got NFL going on, NBA, MLB, NHL startup, college football, college basketball's right around the corner. Heck, we got a World Cup coming up this year in a month.
Yeah.
We got everything you could ever dream of going on in the world of sports.
You know, people say Christmas is the best time of year. This is the best time of the year. I love it. I love it so much.
100%. Let's get right into it like we start every one of those sports show. Who's hot, who's not? Manny, let's start with you. Who's hot for you?
You know what? I'm going to go who's hot for me, the Utah Utes, knocking off at the time number 7 USC. Big time game. Now USC's dropped down to 12. They were at home. They were down by 10 with a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter. Was able to mount a wonderful comeback. And then just the final strike at the very end with literally seconds left on the clock. Fans rushed the field. Everybody went crazy. Yeah, I got to go the Utah Utes knocking off USC.
Yeah, Cam Rising with the late touchdown touchdown run and the 2-point conversion. So definitely impressive win for the Utes. I will say I picked them to win the Pac-12 in the preseason. So
there you go.
We'll see what they can if they can keep it rolling. They got to get back though. UCLA knocked them off a couple weeks ago, but Cam Rising, former Texas transfer.
There you go.
There we go. Let's go over to the NFL. My who's hot. This was a big trade went down last night. The San Francisco 49ers getting Christian McCaffrey for a second, third, and fourth round pick in next year's draft and 2024 fifth round pick. So I got to say the 49ers are hot because this is a fantastic addition to this offense. You look, this is really a team that tends to rely on the run more. We've seen them shift their best receiver, Deebo Samuel, into the backfield and get him carries. Jimmy Garoppolo, not a gunslinging quarterback, more of a game manager where you need that running back. And Christian McCaffrey, he's going to make this 49ers team fun to watch. The Panthers are honestly a terrible football team. Their offense is dreadful, so not much room for McCaffrey to thrive there. But the 49ers, again, are one of the best backs in the NFL, one of the most versatile backs in an offense that probably just needed an elite back to really take it to the next level.
Yeah, you know, I think Christian McCaffrey is just an all-round wonderful athlete, and I think that he's going to be able to, like you said, elevate that offense. I'm going to be honest, this shocked me, to be completely honest with you. My fantasy group chat was blowing up with the trade news. But in all honesty, I never saw Christian McCaffrey leaving the Panthers, and now that he's here, I'm happy for him. You know, like you said, I think he was really stuck in Carolina. I think that he was hitting a little bit of a rut, obviously with all the injuries that he was having. It was a tough time. I think a wonderful change of scenery now in California is going to be a good thing for him. I like the trade a lot.
Time to throw the stick of dynamite there in Carolina, blow that thing up. It's full rebuild mode for the Panthers. Now let's look at the other side. Manny, who's not hot for you?
Who is not hot for me, and this has been a trend, it's not only been this week, but it's the Ravens' defense. They ranked 32nd in the pass, allowing 315 yards a game. They just lost to the Giants this past week. They've blown consistent double-digit leads, and it's been a rough time because then obviously your offense has to try to make a play, and now you're playing catch up, and you're trying to just force something, and it doesn't end well. They're 14th in the rush, so it's not like that's any much better. I think that not to mention their abysmal showing against the Dolphins when they had that horrible implosion. I think this forces Lamar to start just really trying to force things, and then that brings his level of play down. I got to go with the Ravens defense as who's not.
Yeah, Crossfire EP Jordan Gillard, turn away. We're lucky he's not on the show this morning, or else we would be talking about the Ravens for 30 minutes. You would have just set him off on a rant. But yeah, there seems like a lot of potential there, man, but blown leads down the stretch, and a lot of it goes onto that defense. You said that Dolphins one. I could not believe the Dolphins won that game. That was an epic fourth quarter collapse by the Ravens. Flipping over to my Who's Not, I'm going to take over to NBA. Russell Westbrook showing his true potential last night against the Clippers. He goes 0 for 11 from the field as the Lakers fall to 0-2 on the season, and it gets better than this. He had a rare kind of a random kind of quip earlier this week. He came off the bench for one of the Lakers preseason games late in preseason and walked out with a hamstring injury, and he blamed the head coach for getting injured because he said he didn't know how to warm up properly coming off the bench because he hasn't come off the bench since November 28, 2008. He started every game since then that he's played in. Oh, Russ. You complaining about coming off the bench, then going 0 for 11, blaming it on a hamstring injury. Oh, man, the Lakers are going to be something to watch this year. Maybe a train wreck there for them.
Yeah, one thing that completely has shocked me, and I've noticed this over the years, when Russ comes to the three-point line, they're playing off him. They're daring him to shoot, and that's just not a good look, especially when you're trying to be this explosive point guard. Really the leader of this team. Not a good look at all. I think it's going to be a rough season for the Lakers.
Yeah, teams aren't changing that defensive strategy anytime soon after last night's showing. Now let's flip over to another segment. Let's go best thing that we saw on Twitter this week. Manny, let's start with you. What was the best thing you saw on Twitter?
Yeah, as journalists, we're on Twitter a lot, and I'd say more than the normal person. But I got to go with Manu Ginobili receiving his Hall of Fame designation on his retired jersey during the Spurs home opener. It was a great time. Obviously, that trio right there, Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, brought the city of San Antonio so much happiness and joy with their well, at least with Duncan with the 5 championships. And to see that he's, getting his flowers, people will say that they loved watching Manu Ginobili in the early 2000s, and I especially enjoyed watching him, especially in that 2014 finals with that just turn back the clock dunk that he had. I was really happy to see Manu get that Hall of Fame on his jersey.
Yeah, rebuild mode now. Again, Jordan Gillard, we're just picking on all his teams this morning. But, yeah, that was a great Spurs squad. Credit to Greg Popovich. And it's going to be interesting to see how they rebuild as they kind of go back through the draft. A little bit of a smaller market team. So it was impressive what they built with, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. They had some studs there in San Antonio. Absolutely. And watch these. See the Spurs here. They're playing a couple games down the street in the Moody Center, a couple regular season games. So that'll be fun to watch. But, yeah, definitely great to see a Spurs great getting recognition from the hometown. For me, how about this one? Tennessee and Alabama. That was an epic. It maybe was the game of the year last year. Let's say Tennessee fans enjoyed this. This is after the game with the goalposts. They were first taken out of Neyland Stadium, as you do when you storm the field. And then eventually, after parading around town for a little bit, it ends up in the river. Great night of fun for Tennessee fans. This was a long time coming. I mean, this is a team that hasn't won double-digit games since 2007. They're enjoying their time on top of college football. For sure. Fun to see fans rush the field, and then they got a little bit of a souvenir to take with them.
It was so funny to me to think that they got it out of the stadium and they're walking down, and then they're like, what do we do with this? And then just like somebody's like, throw it in the river. They're like, that's a good idea. Let's throw it in the river. Congratulations to Vols football. They're doing a wonderful job, and it's always a great time when you knock off Alabama, right? So.
Yep. Hey, credit to the Big J journalist, man. That was a whole saga after the Tennessee-Alabama game. It's like, where are the goalposts set now? It was a whole hour and a half long thing, so fun to watch. And the best thing, too, is that in Tennessee, their football program started GoFundMe. I don't know if you saw this.
I did see that.
A GoFundMe to raise money for the new goalposts. So, because I'm sure the University of Tennessee does not have enough money for a new goalpost. But hey, whatever works. That's it for best thing I saw on Twitter this week. Now let's go over. We got two more questions left in this block. What's trending, and what's trending here in Austin? Well, it was almost a panic attack last Saturday. Texas barely surviving against the Iowa State Cyclones 24-21. I was looking this week online. Texas has the second hardest remaining schedule in the nation based off win percentage, and you make sense. You look at their next three opponents, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, TCU, all ranked in the top 20. So, Manny, after Saturday's near disaster, what do the Longhorns need to improve on heading into this huge slate of games?
You know, I think the biggest thing that you got to improve on is taking advantage of the opportunities that your defense awards you. Had a lot of just missed open throws. It seemed like it was just like it was an off day. It was a weird day. You know, it was one of those games where it was just a weird day, and it was one of those where, you know, people say like it's called like a trap game. You know what I mean? This definitely felt like a trap game. But this is how I see that this Texas team is different, because they don't get caught in the trap. You know, I feel Coach Steve Sarkisian said he doesn't know if last year they win that game. You know, and I think this year they were able to really lock down and really take care of business. But as you go against these really good teams, any missed opportunity from them has to come up for points for you. You can't end in a punt. You can't. Obviously, TCU has a high-powered offense. They play really well. But credit to Iowa State. Iowa State always plays Texas really hard. Always has a good squad. But I think as you go down the stretch, you got to take advantage of the opportunities that you get.
For sure, and you know, I think they set the tone early on in that game. There was the block punt by Keelan Robinson. The Longhorns struggled to pick it up, and then Bert Auburn ends up missing a field goal on that drive. So those are the missed opportunities you can have. I agree with you. A lot of great points there, especially offensively. Missed some open throws. That big drop by Casey Kane. I think also on the defense, for me, my main point, again, this is just a team that struggled to get off the field on those 3rd and 4th downs. And they struggled again last Saturday. 9 of 15 Iowa State was on those 3rd downs. In the second half alone, they converted 5 times on 3rd downs of 8 yards or longer, including that rush touchdown by Hunter Decker on 3rd down 9. So when you're playing explosive offenses, when you look at the next 3 quarterbacks they're playing, Spencer Sanders if he's healthy, Adrian Martinez, who's looked good for Kansas State, and Max Duggan, you've got to find the way to get those guys off the field. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on. And then final question of the block. We talked a lot of football. Let's flip back to the NBA, because the NBA just getting underway a couple days into the year. Who impressed you the most? I think we had the same answer on this one. So who impressed you the most? And we'll talk a little bit about this team.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it. So the New Orleans Pelicans is what impressed me the most. They went to Brooklyn. Obviously, you have KD and Kyrie, and this is supposed to be the team, right? This is supposed to be the year that the Brooklyn Nets bring it all together, and they blew them out, really. Zion dropped 25, Brandon Ingram dropped 28, and they ended up beating the Nets 130-108. So that was the team that impressed me the most.
Yeah, for sure. The big thing there, like you said, Zion Williamson back healthy. I mean, that's a stacked Nets team. But yeah, I called on Crossfire. I'll call my shot again. Pelicans, I said I think they're a sleeper in the West. They're going to be fun to watch. They've just got so many weapons. And another thing that impressed me, Jonas Valanciunas had 15 points. I mean, he's a guy you think maybe aging past it a little bit, but he came out and had an impact. So if you have guys like that, they'll get Jackson Hayes back healthy at one point. I like Alvarado off the bench. We'll see if he's able to kind of be the same defensive menace we saw him against the Suns last year. So a lot of fun tools for the Pelicans to watch, and another team another year of experience off that Suns playoff run or playoff series last year. We'll see if they can take another step forward. It looks like after game 1, they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you saw Zion in his press conferences, and he looks lean, and he looks really just in the best shape that he's been in since he's been in the NBA. And I think that this is going to be a scary team. Like you said, I think they're going to be fun to watch. I think Brandon Ingram is the carbon copy of KD, and I think he's going to continue to get his points. So I think that's going to be a fun pairing between the two. So I'm really interested in seeing them down the stretch.
Yeah, going to be fun to watch the Pelicans. Well, that'll do it all for our first block today. But when we come back, Ceci Rodriguez, she's going to join the panel, help us break down the highlights and lowlight of the week. You won't want to miss it. You're watching the 1-0 Sports Show.
Great block, guys. Testing, testing. Hello? Yeah, that's me.
Sweet. All right.
How do you... Oh, I can hear myself.
I just...
Turn me down low, I guess.
Yeah, we'll turn it off.
Yeah.
Just, can you, are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
All right, let's do it.
We'll go down to the bump and then I'm going to
Yeah.
get off the call.
Yeah, count down to the bump and then we'll turn it off.
Okay, the bump is 10 seconds.
All right.
Oh,
Don't like that sound.
right?
Yes.
All right, now we'll do another. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 1-0 Sports Show. We have our friend Ceci here. Ceci, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be back on for the first time in a few weeks.
Let's
and
go.
It's an open Friday for me, so I'm happy to talk sports whenever.
She's not camped out at Harry Styles
Yeah,
this week.
no.
she was making a living down at the Moody Center that week.
So we're going to go with the just best plays of the week, lowlights of the week in the world of sports. Yeah. So, Adam, why don't you go ahead and give me your best play from the MLB playoffs this past week?
Yeah, let's get into it. How about this? Yankees and Astros. That's going to be it's been a fun series so far. And look at this defensive play. Last night, Gleyber Torres on his back and helped turn the double play. It was a ground out by Jose Altuve. And that was a big one in the 7th inning. Gets the Yankees out of a bit of a jam. Look at that from the back. On his back, able to flip it up in time.
And then the spin, too.
Jose Altuve is not slow, so for them to be able to throw him out, it's a pretty good double play. So that's my baseball play of the week. Manny, what you got?
You know, I'm going to go also from the series of, oh, actually, no, it was the series before versus the Mariners. Jose Altuve with a leaping, like just backwards spinning ballerina throw to get the out at first in Game 2 versus the Mariners. Just right at the plate, too. I mean, beautiful.
Look how close that is.
Beautiful catch by the first baseman. So that's my top play of the week.
Ceci, what you got?
Okay, so while I do love a spin jump throw in the air for baseball, I think that's a little more common. This getting it, catching it on the back, getting it a little bit just to toss it to the second baseman to get Jose Altuve out, which, like you said, he isn't a slow runner.
Yeah.
That guy is so fast. I'm going to have to go with the Yankees on that one. That was a great play.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. That's fine. We'll move on to the next one, all right? We'll move on to the next one. So, Adam, give me your best NBA opening week play.
Yeah, for sure. There was a lot of discussion around the NBA draft. Paulo Banchero expected to go number 3, the Rockets, but then suddenly 30 minutes before the Magic decided to take him at number 1. At least it seemed like it was about 30 minutes before. But look at this for his NBA debut. Former Longhorn Corey Joseph, look away because Paulo Banchero is going to put you on a poster.
Oh, my goodness.
How about that for the number 1 overall pick in his debut? That's a pretty good way to make an impression on your new team. Yeah, I'd say that number 1 pick is looking pretty good right now. So all things looking good for the Magic down in Florida. How about you, Manny? What you got for your best play?
Yeah, that was nasty. But you know what? I'm going to go with Terrence Davis with the Kings with the putback dunk against the Trailblazers, climbing the ladder. This was nasty. I mean, just the hops, missed 3, and give me that right over Damian Lillard. Literally climbs the ladder for that one.
Man.
That was beautiful. Great athletic play.
See, I think I'm going to have to go with that one. That was just a really athletic play, and if he wasn't there, that wouldn't have been made. So that was a great play.
Don't see too many Kings highlights either.
No,
Yeah,
you don't.
that's it.
When I was going through them, I said, oh my God, the Kings are here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's good for them.
There you go. We're all about equal representation on the One Another Sports Show.
You know what? Okay, so let's go to our next. Speaking of the Kings, they haven't had a lot of great highlights, but they had plenty of lowlights. So, Adam, why don't you give me your best blooper of the week in the world of sports?
Man, I don't know whether to give this a blooper or what's the acting one? Is it the Academy Awards?
An Oscar?
Oscar. There we go. This one is getting something. Let's take a look at it. Look at Tayshaun Manning. Gets a little swing there. Oh, look at the flop. Look at this. The delayed reaction. He thinks about, let's flop. Oh, man. Hey, you got to love NIL.
Yeah.
They're making a shirt out of this. The dude's going to turn that into an NIL deal. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's perfect.
So,
Are you kidding me?
That one's got to get an Oscar, man. Fantastic from Tayshaun Manning. I've never seen a flop so delayed before. So
my favorite part about that video is his teammate comes over and he's like, why did you just do that? He's like, they're going to call that every time. It doesn't matter if it was a flop. That was great. But I'm going to go with LSU's secondary on a horrible missed tackle, just missed tackling all around, but especially on this run. There were 4 Tigers who were able to bring him down and just didn't. Look at this. 1, 2, there's 3, there's 4. I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit here. If you're a youth coach, if you coach middle school, if you coach high school, teach your players how to tackle, please, please. I'm tired of seeing this. Obviously, when you get to a D1 program, there's not time to teach you how to tackle. There's a lot that you got to do in a short amount of time, so they're not going to teach you how to tackle. Please learn how to tackle. I've seen this too many times, and it just works its way into the NFL. We've seen plenty of guys just getting running through arm tackles and things like that. You know, the last player who was trying to bring him down, he was trying to pop the ball out. I understand that, but at the end of the day, make the tackle. You save the touchdown, and maybe the next play you get a pick. Cool, you get off the field. Then you gotta tackle. Have to tackle. That's like the basis of this game. I had to get on my soapbox a little bit when I saw that. That's my low light of the week. Yeah, that's my worst.
They're just trying to push, and they're almost like pushing him forward there.
Right?
I don't know. Well, what do you think, Ceci? What's the worst blooper?
This is a tough one. But I have to say, this LSU one kind of seems like a broken record at this point for the season. That LSU defense has been atrocious since the beginning. I feel bad for Brian Kelly, but you know what? It's his doing. He chose to go there. So I'm going to have to go with the Kentucky flop because if there's something that gets me on a soapbox, it's athletes acting so delayed in sports. Like, come on. You should be going to LA instead of, wherever you are.
If you're going to flop, at least flop good.
I mean, come on.
That was one of the worst flops I've ever seen. I'm not going to lie.
No, that was great. That was so funny when I saw that. It just like the slow motion makes it so much better because it looks like he really thinks about it. Like he's like, should I?
And then go.
And then he's like, oh yeah.
He definitely thought about it.
Oh, that was great. Awesome. So Now let's go on to our next little segment. So we're gonna go best college football play of the week for Week 7. Adam, what do you got?
First of all, this is a legendary name, Montana Lemonius Craig. For the Colorado Buffaloes. They hadn't won a game all year until this right here in overtime against the Cal Golden Bears. And look at this. You think there's no way he got that in, right? No way. Well, let's go to the replay. He's begging his case. Look at this right there. Look at that. The foot's on the ground. That's to win Colorado its first game of the year. The Buffalo fans, they enjoyed that. They end up rushing the field afterwards after Colorado gets a stop on defense. 20-13. You know, Colorado, they were the last FBS team to get a win this year. So no more winless FBS teams.
There you go.
Montana Lemonius Craig, heck of a catch.
Just the name itself is a highlight. Are you kidding me? As I was writing the script out, I put that as like my highlight, and then I saw you had this. I was like, oh my God, no! That was a crazy catch when I saw it. I couldn't believe it. But I'm actually gonna go for my best play of the week. Eastern Carolina with the diving reception to win the game in OT. Just he's being held, really corners all on him. Just diving catch, fade away, and then defense gets a stop to win the game. But really, that catch was the one that put it over the top. 4 OTs also. So, I mean, you're gassed, you're tired, and then to be able to make that play is elite, definitely.
Time for me to get on my soapbox, though. The OT rules are stupid. The fact that we're doing 2-point conversions from the third overtime and all, that's not even OT.
Yeah.
They essentially played 2 overtimes and played like 2 extra plays. So they need to get rid of that. They need to go back to the old rules, man. It was after A&M and LSU went to like 7 overtimes. Yeah. But you never see those anyway. But 2-point conversions, that's not a way to end a football game. So anyway, side tangent there. Ceci, what's the best college football play of the week?
Let's see. Okay, these are both really good. This is tough. Okay. You see, I have to go with the grit of East Carolina, though, to be in, you know, you play 60 minutes and you're playing double overtime. I know you went on your soapbox about that, but, I mean, truly, come on, these players are gassed at that point. And to be able to do that, I think it's great. But I also have to give credit to the Colorado Buffaloes because, I mean, to be winless up until this point is just a sad tragedy. So, you know, kudos to them. They finally got their win, and let's hope that they can, you know, get another in the win column this week.
Ralphie!
Awesome. And now for our last segment of Best Plays of the Week. Adam, give me your best NFL Week 6 play.
Yeah, it seems like Patrick Mahomes always has something to pull out of his back pocket. He did it again here. Let's take a look at this play. Chiefs and Bills. Look at this. Mahomes in trouble. In trouble. Look at this, just keeping the play alive. But it gets better. Look, Juju Smith, he's going to get out of 3 Bills defenders spinning around him, and he's gone. So the combination of Mahomes keeping the play alive and then Juju making Bills defenders look like fools, that's my best NFL Week 6 play. What you got, Manny?
And I'm getting back on my soapbox saying that if they just hit and wrap and drive, then that play doesn't happen. This doesn't. It's a great. Don't get me wrong. Mahomes is a magician. Legitimately on the football field, Mahomes is a magician. But hit and wrap, please. Anyways, okay, I'm off my soapbox now. My best Week 6 play is Jake Ferguson with Dallas Cowboys going against the Eagles. Not a lot of highlights for the Cowboys in this game, but Jake Ferguson with the Euro step essentially, and then gets into the end zone for the touchdown. This was nasty. Jake Ferguson, that man has a family. Don't do that to him. But that was disgusting in itself. I mean, he just brings the ball over and then just kind of, like I said, it was a Euro step into the end zone. I felt like he should have laid it up for the celebration, but that's my top play of Week 6.
That was a good one. Yeah, no, the Cowboys had me annoyed yet again this week, but we're not going to talk about that one.
Nope. Dak is back. It's okay.
You see, that's what I don't agree with. That's not going to help. Okay, off of my soapbox, I'm going to have to go with Mahomes. As much as the man can be an annoyance sometimes, he is a magician on the field, and that play couldn't have happened without him or Juju just being him. So I got to give it to those two. That was a great play.
Well, Ceci, thank you for joining us this morning. That was a lot of fun. The highlights of the week, man, there's always tangents. There's always something to talk about on them. So we'll be doing it at the same time again next week. Don't worry, though. Ceci, you're not done for the day. She's coming back. She's going to be our guest picker. She's going to help us break down some of the top games of the week. But when we come back, we're midway through conference play in college football, and that means it's time for a check-in. We're going to check who's been overperforming, who's been underperforming, and everything in between. All that coming up on the One and O Sports Show. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. It's time to break down the college football season up into this point. We've got a couple of different categories that Manny and I have each picked a team for. We're going to break that down for you right now. So, Manny, let's get right into it. Which team has impressed you the most from kind of the first half, maybe plus a game or so, this season?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to go with Tulane, ranked for the first time in 24 years. At 25th, but I think that they were able to continue to build on this. Currently have a 6-1 record. Just big congrats to Tulane. You know, I think obviously being ranked for the first time in 24 years is a huge deal. And I think that they're going to be able to really just kind of build on this success and just really stay. I don't know if they're going to stay ranked or really get that much higher, but big congratulations to them. Obviously the biggest surprise to me for this season.
They beat Kansas State earlier. They've got UCF and Cincy coming up. I mean, this team, don't rule them out. We could potentially, like you said, still they've got to have a couple games go their way. They're not out of the running for a New Year's Six Bowl yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
So we'll see. That'll be fun to watch, the Green Wave. I'm going to kind of stay over in the Southeast region. We already talked about them some on this show. How about the Tennessee Volunteers? This is a team that hasn't been good in a while. They haven't won double-digit games since they won 10 games back in 2007. But Hendon Hooker Company, they are flying. Jalen Hyatt coming off a 5-touchdown game against Alabama. I mean, he usually takes something special to beat the Crimson Tide, and the Volunteers did just that. Josh Heupel turned this program around in his second year. Tennessee's going to be forced to be reckoned with. I mean, they've already defeated Florida. They blew out LSU. Hey, how about them Vols, Manny?
Right? Yeah, I mean, this is a big surprise, definitely. I mean, I don't think anybody thought when you looked at the schedule earlier that this was going to be a close game between Tennessee and Alabama. And I think even leading up to the game, people were like, this is going to be a blowout for Alabama. It's going to be an easy win. And the Vols showed some really good fight. I mean, are you kidding me? To be able to go toe-to-toe with Alabama is never easy. So shout out to the Vols. Definitely a big surprise this season.
Two biggest games on their schedule, October 29th. Next Saturday, they play Kentucky at home. And that all-important one, November 5th, they're going to travel to Georgia. That game is going to be insane. Now let's flip to the other side. Manny, which team has been the most most disappointing team so far this season for you?
This team, it feels like every year people are going to talk about them, people are going to, mention them in the conversation. But it's Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They were ranked 5th in the preseason. Now they're unranked, 3-3 in the record, and huge losses to Marshall and Stanford. I can't get behind this. I don't know why they're in the conversation every year. It just feels like they are. But that's got to be my biggest disappointment. I mean, you got to figure it out at some point, right? I mean, it's like somebody's got to be right about them at some year, but it just feels like they're not, so I got to go with Notre Dame.
Yeah, for sure. Marshall and Stanford, I believe, if this is still correct, they've each only beaten one FBS opponent. Notre Dame. Definitely disappointing for a brand that big.
Yeah.
Another big brand that's been absolutely terrible this year, we saw it live a couple weeks ago, Oklahoma, man. Brent Venables comes over, Clemson defensive coordinator. This team is 115th in defense, according to yards per game. They give up 447 yards a game, and you know what? I tell you what, they are lucky that their hardest non-conference game was Nebraska, or else it could be a lot uglier. And Kansas, too. I think if Kansas has Jalen Daniels, they might win that game. Oklahoma's in trouble this year, man. The offense is better with Dylan Gabriel. The offense isn't bad, I think. It looked bad against Texas because they didn't have a game plan without Dylan Gabriel. But, man, the defense is horrendous, which is not good for a team that just hired Clemson's defense coordinator.
No, absolutely not. I know people going into the season, everybody had Oklahoma really winning the conference and finishing first in the conference, and that's just not it. I mean, people were essentially crowning them in the preseason, as they were going to be the big dominant team again, and everybody else in the conference was fighting for second place. But that's not the case now. I mean, I think the biggest blow to their season was obviously that 49-0 loss in the Red River Showdown, and I think that they just continue to spiral, to be completely honest with you. I do think it's Oklahoma. I do think that they'll figure it out at some point. But when is that some point? I really have no clue. It's really difficult to figure out where this team's going to go.
Well, until then, the offense is going to score 50 points a game if they want to come out with victories. We talked about the good. We talked about the bad. Now let's talk about some sleepers. Manny, who's a sleeper that you think is really going to make some noise over these final weeks of the year?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with Syracuse. 6-0. They have a huge test against number 5 Clemson. But that's the game where I think that they can really prove themselves. Going against NC State was a big win, gritty and tough. But I think that this team is for real. I think this team is going to continue to win, but I think that biggest point is going to be against that Clemson team to really identify and solidify who they are and to make, like you said, that big noise to get into those bowl games.
And we'll be picking that game in E Block coming up here in a little bit, but yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. NC State was out there without their quarterback Devin Leary last week, so definitely the biggest test for Syracuse is coming up this weekend. We're going to learn whether they're legit or not. It's going to be fun to see.
Absolutely.
My sleeper, I'm going to go over to the Big Ten. How about the Purdue Boilermakers? They're 5-2 on the year. They've had close losses to Syracuse. They lost them in the final minute. They also lost to Penn State late on. But how about the Boilermakers? We say that Texas gives us heart attacks sometimes. All five of their games have been decided by one possession. Oof. So you know it's going to be close down the stretch. But look at their upcoming schedule. Wisconsin, who's not as good this year. Iowa, who's not as good this year. Illinois, who's ranked. Northwestern is not as good this year. And then Indiana. That's it. That's all they have remaining. If they beat Illinois, they're in the Big Ten championship game, which is the way that the divisions are divided in the Big Ten. So huge opportunity for Jeff Brom, and Aiden O'Connell is surreal. He's a threat at quarterback. So this Purdue team, they've been in a lot of close games. Now the threat is, are they going to lose a game they're not supposed to because they play every game close? But hey, Aiden O'Connell, Jeff Brom, they're just unranked right now. They received votes in the NCAA Top 25. Keep an eye on the Boilermakers down the stretch.
Yeah, they're playing some really good football right now. Like you said, close games. Those are the ones that really go either way. And some days the ball just doesn't roll your way, and that's just how it works. But like you said, I think if they win out, they're sitting pretty, absolutely.
Also, a little bit of a side tangent. I saw this week the Tyler Trent game 4 years ago today. I don't know. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Really cool moment. Purdue was honoring one of their students who was in a fight with cancer at the time. They came out, blew out Ohio State on that night. They were honoring him. He passed away a little bit later, so obviously rest in peace, Tyler Trent. But that was a really special night. It was really cool to see that. I think that's one that will sit long in Purdue fans' memories. So let's flip the page now. We talked a lot about the Power 5. Now let's go to the Group of 5. We talked a little bit about Tulane. Do they have a shot at the New Year's Six Bowl? But Manny, now let's make our predictions. Right now, who do you think ends up as the highest ranked Group of 5 team who goes to a New Year's Six Bowl?
I think Cincy. I think Cincy really stays between, I'd say, the 22-19 range. But I think that they can probably keep going, to be completely honest with you. I think Cincy is coming off a couple years ago, obviously being in that Final Four discussion. And they're trying to build on that. I think that they will be able to build on that. But look out for Cincy. I think they're pretty dangerous this year.
For sure, a slight rebuilding year almost with Desmond Ritter graduating, but they've kept it up, ranked in the top 25. I think one thing that we can probably both agree on is the highest ranked Group of 5 team is probably going to come from the American, Cincy, Tulane, or my pick. I'm going to get on the Gus bus. How about the UCF Golden Knights? They've scored 111 points in their past 2 games. They put 41 past SMU, and they beat Temple 70-13. They got John Rice Plumlee, dual threat quarterback, 1,500 yards passing, 468 yards rushing. And next Saturday, they play Cincinnati at home. That could be the big decider. So give me the Gus bus and the Golden Knights. Let's see if they can make a New Year's Six Bowl.
Yeah, I saw that to put 70 on any team is crazy. But like I said, the fashion that they did it, and it was just a great game all around. They really dominated in all 3 facets of the game. But I'm going to take Cincy, and you'll take UCF, and we'll see the clash that happens in this upcoming game.
And I think we're both watching Tulane for sure.
Yeah.
Tulane plays UCF on November 12th and Cincy on November 25th. So there's a lot that can happen in the American. That's going to be a fun race to watch in the next month, excuse me. So we talked a lot. Now let's go to the upper echelon of college football. Let's give our college football playoff prediction as things stand right now. Manny, let's run through your top 4 real quickly.
Yeah, you know what? Just rattle them off. I got 1 Georgia, I got 2 Ohio State, I got 3 Clemson, and 4, I got to give it to Texas. I've said this once before on this show, and I'll say it again. If Texas is close to getting in, they will get in. Why? Because who puts butts in seats better than the Texas Longhorns? Nobody. Me, in what I think, nobody. Texas sells seats, and that's what the College Football Playoff Committee is looking to get. Those are my top 4.
Manny drinking a lot of Kool-Aid this week. I'm going to go Georgia and Ohio State, great picks. I don't think anyone's knocking them up. I'm going to put Tennessee up there because here's the scenario. I think Tennessee, they played Georgia close, and you got 1 loss. Tennessee team, Alabama should have 2 losses because I think Georgia will knock them off in the SEC championship game. That can be interesting. I think Clemson's a little bit overrated, but no one's going to beat them in the ACC, so I think they're probably going to still slot in the playoffs because the Big 12 and the Pac 12 are going to beat up each other and take each other out of playoff consideration because of kind of the parity at the top of those conferences. Those are our top 4. It's going to be fun to watch. Those are kind of our midseason predictions. We'll circle back around in December and see how those turn out. But when we come back, we got a special guest joining us all the way from Stillwater, Oklahoma, Ohio State's Oakley sports editor, Gabriel Trevino, phoning in to give his thoughts on the Cowboys ahead of Saturday's big game in Stillwater. You won't want to miss it. You're watching the One and O Sports Show. asking you the questions I sent you.
Okay.
Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. We got a special guest, as we mentioned, is joining us all the way from Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma sports editor Gabriel Trevino. Gabriel, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, awesome to have you on. And big matchup in Stillwater tomorrow. I mean, both these teams probably really need this win to kind of stay in that race for the Big 12 title. So kind of excited to hear your thoughts on the Cowboys. Let's kind of go right into it. Let's flash back to last week. Obviously, not something maybe a lot of Oklahoma State fans will want to dwell on for too long, but that late loss to TCU in overtime, kind of what went wrong for the Cowboys down the stretch in that game? Because they were up big in that fourth quarter.
I think it was really just the offense kind of ran out of gas toward the end. I think they only scored 6 points in the second half. First half, they were lights out. Spencer Sanders was throwing it. He was running it. He was really doing it all. But at the end of the game, they couldn't establish the run. When receivers weren't really getting open, they couldn't complete passes. The offense kind of just ran out. They're having to settle for field goals a lot in the red zone, too.
Yeah, settling for field goals. That seems like a kiss of death in the Big 12 with the offenses the way they are.
Yeah, Gabriel, to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that Oklahoma State can rebound from last week's loss and go win a Big 12 title?
I'm going to go with probably a 6 or 7. I mean, something similar happened last year where, Oklahoma State was going undefeated, well up to Iowa State, lost, but then, won out the rest of the year and went to the Big 12 title game. So I think something similar could happen again. The Big 12 is really, there's so much parity in this league, in this conference. Kansas State right now, I think, is tied for first 2. Oklahoma, who knew they were going to have 3 losses.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a long season ahead. I could easily see them bouncing back, but I could also easily see them going up to K-State next week, losing that game, losing maybe a couple more. So I'll go with a 6 or 7. I'm decently confident.
For sure. I mean, you talked about the parity, and it's going to be fun to watch the top 4 teams in the Big 12 all playing each other this weekend. So we'll learn a lot more about the standings tomorrow. Let's kind of flip over. Let's look at Oklahoma State's defense. Last year, they were one of the best units in the country, but a little bit of regression this year. They're giving up 27.8 points per game. Gave up 31 to Tech the week before. I believe they gave up 37 last week to TCU. So, Gabriel, I mean, what's kind of been behind that regression? Do you believe that Oklahoma State's defense is kind of taking a step back this year?
I think it has. I think there's really 2 reasons. The secondary isn't as experienced, and that's really what you need in the Big 12 is a really experienced secondary unit. I mean, they had 3 safeties who were seniors last year, and both corners were seniors last year. So that's something that when you lose it's not easy to replace. But also the pass rush. I mean, the defensive line basically all returned from last year, which is the only thing on the defensive unit that did, or the entire unit returned from last year as seniors now. But they're really taking a step back too. The pass rush hasn't really been there. I was looking at the numbers earlier yesterday. Sack percentage has went down from 10% to 5% from this last year to this year. So, the pass rush isn't getting to the quarterback as fast, which is making the secondary cover for longer. And when you have an unexperienced secondary, you're going to get burnt more.
Yeah, great point, especially when you have so many really talented quarterbacks in the Big 12 that can just pick your secondary apart.
Yeah, a lot of big arms in the Big 12. I'll definitely say that. There's some questions on whether Spencer Sanders plays tomorrow. Do you think he does? And if he doesn't, how would the Pokes need to adjust?
I think he will. Last week was a little weird. I just woke up and saw Twitter was doing his Twitter thing with the rumors of, Spencer Sanders not going to play. Well, then it came out that, he didn't practice all week. So that was a surprise for even us reporters. But I haven't really heard anything this week. I'm fairly confident he will play. But, let's say he doesn't. I mean, I guess you really just have to establish the run there. I'm not really sure who would. I'm assuming Gunnar Gundy would probably get the start. I don't know how long he would stay in the game. Maybe they throw in Rangel, the freshman quarterback, to try to win that game. But you'd really have to establish that run early without Spencer Sanders as your quarterback. Because he's just what he does through the air, no other quarterback in Oklahoma State can do right now.
Interesting thing. I will say, Gabriel, I mean, if you're not hearing much on Sanders up in Stillwater, it makes me scratch my head even a little bit more about why Texas is a 6.5-point favorite. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the bookies are seeing out there in Vegas. Let's take a look at tomorrow's game now. We talked a little bit about the defense, talked a little bit about the quarterback situation. So, Gabriel, can you kind of give us a player on each side of the ball for the Cowboys that you think could have a big game on Saturday?
Yeah, for sure. I think on offense, I'll go with Bryson Green. He had a really good game against Texas Tech, I believe. 8 catches, 110 yards off the top of my head, if I can remember that. Something around in that ballpark. But then against TCU, I don't really remember him having a catch. Maybe he had 1 or 2, but they weren't really explosive. So he was really taken away by that TCU defense. So if the Cowboys do want to really have a try and be an explosive offense like they have been in the past, I think it's really going to have to go through Bryson Green again. And then on defense, I'll go with Colin Oliver, the sophomore edge rusher. He had a fantastic freshman year. A little bit slower this year. He's still having a fantastic year, but they really need to get him in one-on-one situations with that big, fast, physical Texas offensive line. So he'll need to win a lot of reps if OSU's defense wants to stick around with that explosive Texas offense.
Yeah, Gabriel, I got one for you. So what would you say is a key to victory for Oklahoma State, and what's a key to victory for Texas coming Saturday?
I'll start with Oklahoma State. I'd say just keep starting strong. They've started off every game scoring 20, 30 points in the first half. They just need to keep doing that. And then don't let off the accelerator in the second half. Sometimes, like TCU, they settle for field goals. They didn't really find the end zone in the second half until overtime. So they really need to start strong because with Texas, I mean, Quinn Ewers, Bijan Robinson, Xavier, they can score 40 points if they needed to in a half. So Oklahoma State needs to match that and then keep going throughout the second half. And then for Texas, I kind of mentioned it, but they need to do the same. They need to match Oklahoma State's explosive offense. Bijan Robinson, feed him. OSU's run defense has not been spectacular this year as it was last year. So just keep feeding both running backs, really. Let Quinn Ewers be comfortable in the pocket, and then let him find those receivers open down the field.
Yeah, I think there's going to be plenty of points on the board in Stillwater tomorrow. Huge game, though, Gabriel. I mean, we talked about that now both these teams have one loss in Big 12 play, and with TCU and Kansas State undefeated atop the standings, second loss. It's not only a second loss, but they also lose the tiebreaker against the other team. So with all that being said, with all the build-up to this game, what's your prediction for what happens on the field tomorrow in Stillwater?
So I actually picked Texas to win. I picked them to win 38-30. Just right now, Oklahoma State, they're coming off a big loss, and some of the problems in that loss were really problems that have been around all season. They kind of just got away with some of those with the wins. But, I mean, when you can't establish the run, Dominic Richardson's kind of having a pretty poor performance so far in Big 12 play. The receivers have been somewhat inconsistent. Either Braden Johnson's having a game or he's not. Bryson Green's either having a game or he's not. And then Spencer Sanders has kind of slowed down in the second half of those games. I think he's under 50% completion for the last 2 games in the entire game. So I'm going to go with Texas. I think Oklahoma State just has a little too many issues right now. But if Texas can beat Texas with Quinn Ewers and all those playmakers, they're probably just going to roll OSU if they're not on their game.
Wow. Well, as Lee Corso says, this is strictly business. Gabriel with a business pick there, picking the Longhorns over Oklahoma State. I think, Gabriel, one thing that we can't agree on, I see in your pick with 38-30, it's going to take some points to win this game tomorrow.
It's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the Big 12 right now. It's really hyper offense. For a couple years, we've been seeing some more defense played, especially in recent years after, the Baker Mayfield and Mason Rudolph and all those guys. Once they left, there's more defense. But now it's with these hyper offensive coaches like Sarkisian and the offensive coordinator Zach Kidley over at Texas Tech. There's just so much more points in the Big 12 now, and defense need to catch up again.
For sure. Well, take your overs in the Big 12 when you're choosing them. Gabriel, man, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
For sure. When we come back on the 1-0 Sports Show, we got one segment left. It's time for our pick-em. Ceci Rodriguez rejoins the panel, and we'll run through 10 of the best games in college football this weekend. You won't want to miss it. You're watching the 1-0 Sports Show.
put my thing. See, I wrote a lot.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Sorry, I get passionate when it comes to pickup.
Nah, for sure. I respect it.
Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take.
Okay, we're gonna say bye.
For the final time on this Friday morning, welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. Ceci Rodriguez rejoining the panel. Guys, let's get down to business right away. Let's start. Talked a lot about the Big 12 on our phone call with Gabriel. So let's start with an interesting matchup in Waco tomorrow. Kansas traveling to take on the Baylor Bears. The Bears, both teams actually looking to bounce back from losses last week. Manny, who you got in that one?
Yeah, I got Kansas. It hasn't been the best season for Baylor. And Kansas obviously had that red hot start. I'm going to go Kansas in this one.
Great pick. Baylor's defense looked porous against West Virginia. Jason Bede's a better backup than people think. Bet the over on this one, as we said. Give me the Jayhawks in a tight one. I think they edge it out and get bowl eligible.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Baylor has not had the best season so far, and I think this game is going to be a game for Kansas to prove themselves. They've lost a few, even though they were undefeated just a few weeks ago. So I'm going to go with Jayhawks winning this on the road to stiffen up the Big 12 rankings that way.
We hyped this one up a little bit earlier. Number 14, Syracuse traveling to take on number 5, Clemson. Massive game in the ACC. Cece, who you have in that one?
Okay, I can't deny that Syracuse has had a great season. I just can't get behind the hype of Syracuse just yet. This is going to be a hard match traveling to Clemson, who's number 5 in the nation, has a shot at the CFP national title. So I'm going to have to go with Clemson winning this one. It's not going to be easy for them to travel to Clemson. I'm going with the Tigers.
Great pick. I think that's exactly the reason. If this one's in the Carrier Dome, I think I'm maybe going orange here. I just feel like Clemson keeps finding ways. I think they're not an elite football team this year, but they keep finding ways to win, and I think they find another way to win. This one's going to be close, though. This one is not going to be a blowout. The Orange are going to give Clemson all they want.
I talked to him about it before, and I'm going to rock with him again here. I got Syracuse winning this one in the upset. Like you said, I think this is going to be close. Whether you know, they really end up winning or not, this is going to be a tough fight. This is going to be a battle. And I think this really comes down to the last possession. And if Syracuse has the ball, I really see them pulling this one out.
Yeah, we shall see. It's going to be a fun game. Clemson's been in some dog fights in the ACC this year. Let's flip back over to the Big 12, 2 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. West Virginia traveling to Lubbock to take on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Manny, who you have in that one?
I got West Virginia. West Virginia is always a squad that's so difficult to play against. They didn't have the best showing against Texas, but I think that they're always that gritty team, and they will always play really hard against any team in the Big 12. I'm going to go West Virginia in this one.
I'm going to say great pick. I think this one, another shootout, is going to come down to the quarterbacks, and I trust JT Daniels to make one more play than Baron Morton for Texas Tech. So give me West Virginia, but this one's going to be a 38-35 righty. Mountaineers squeeze one out in Lubbock.
This matchup can go either way. Both teams are fighting for better spots in the Big 12, but it's a chance for both of them to prove themselves. But that insane environment in Lubbock is going to be hard for the Mountaineers because there's nothing else better to do in Lubbock for those fans. But I digress. But I think that the Red Raiders can be more lethal at home with that environment, so I'm going with the Red Raiders to get this win. I just think that they could really pull this one out.
I'm hearing word that the Lubbock supermarkets are sold out of tortillas heading into this game. Let's go to the SEC. This one's an interesting one on CBS 2:30. Number 7 Ole Miss trying to keep their undefeated season going at LSU. Cece, who do you have in that one?
I have Ole Miss winning this one. This SEC matchup is going to be great. It's a pivotal moment for both these teams. Right now, the Rebels are hoping to keep their undefeated streak alive, hoping for that national title that they could have a possible chance at. But if the Tigers come out and just go fighting in Death Valley, I think that they could ruin that chance for them. But unless that happens, I'm still going to go with Ole Miss, pulling this one out. I think they're going to get that win.
Not so fast. LSU, they've not been as bad this year as Brian Kelly's fake Southern accent. How about Jaden Daniels, 350 yards passing last week, and Keishawn Butte, 115 yards receiving. He's stepping up after kind of a weird rift early on in the year. I'm going to say LSU gets it done. Ole Miss, they've looked a little up and down. They barely beat Kentucky. I think a hostile environment. Give me the Tigers in the upset. Manny?
I got to go Ole Miss. I mean, we just saw that abysmal secondary tackling that I got on my soapbox. I'm not going to go there again because we'll go much longer than what we need to. But I'm just going to go Ole Miss. Just from that highlight alone, I think I'm going to take Ole Miss, yeah.
Massive game in the Pac-12. Top 10 matchup. College game days there. Number 9 UCLA at number 10 Oregon. Manny, who do you have that one? 2:30 on Fox.
Yeah, I'm going to go UCLA. They beat the 15th-ranked Utah Utes that we talked about earlier in the show. But I'm going to take UCLA. Either way, I think it's going to be a close game. Obviously, 9 versus 10 is a big-time matchup. But give me UCLA.
UCLA's been on a bye week since that game, but Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think that's the difference. I like him a little bit more than Bo Nix. Keep an eye on Chip Kelly's UCLA. That one's going to be fun to watch. Give me the Bruins. This one's going to be a good game, but the Bruins squeak it out.
I'm going to have to agree. The Bruins have a chance to take the Big 12 with their counterpart USC. Taking that loss to Utah last week, I say if UCLA goes on the road, takes care of business at Oregon, and gets that win, they could easily be the leader of the Pac-12. So I'm going to go with the Bruins getting this one in a close one.
Yeah, we thought we'd be talking about USC, instead UCLA stealing the headlines in the Pac-12. Let's jump down to FCS. This is an interesting one, top 5 matchup. How about Montana State traveling to Weber State? Weber State, the pride of Damian Lillard. Who we got? Top 5 matchup. Ceci, who do you have in this one?
I'm going to have Weber State. Not that I stay updated on FCS too well, but I think this is going to be a good matchup for them to test on the road. Since Montana State lost a lot of their experienced players last season, I think they could get this win and keep their undefeated streak going.
Great pick. I did some Big J journalism research. I Googled Weber State, looked at the top headlines, said Weber State is healthy, Montana State is not. So we're going to go with Weber State and Damian Lillard tomorrow afternoon. Manny, who do you have in that one?
So, again, I don't really keep up with FCS football.
You're not watching Montana State Bobcats football?
I don't have the package for it. I don't have the package for it. YouTube TV, for some reason, doesn't get it. Anyways, but I did talk about Montana State earlier this year on a highlight play. So I got it in my heart. Montana State takes this one.
There we go. Let's come back to the Big Ten. Minnesota taking on number 16 Penn State. This one's Saturday Night Football tomorrow on ABC. Ceci, who do you have in that one?
I have the Nittany Lions winning this one. There can be a good bounce-back game for Penn State after that 41-17 loss to Michigan last week. So being at home in a whiteout game, Penn State wins this one, gets another W on the column.
Yeah, you just need to say whiteout game. Penn State's not losing at home for a whiteout game. Sean Clifford, give me the Nittany Lions. Manny?
I'm going to go the same with you guys. I think we're all picking the Nittany Lions right now. I think Penn State, like you said, is going to be able to bounce back in this one. And like you said, whiteout, it's going to be an insane atmosphere. Go ahead and give me Penn State for this one.
You've never seen a whiteout game of Penn State. Watch that game tomorrow. It is going to be something to see. Interesting one in the SEC. 2 mediocre teams, Texas A&M traveling to South Carolina, 6:30 at the SEC Network. Manny, who's your pick in that one?
I'm going to go South Carolina. Simply out of spite, I guess. I'm not picking A&M to win a game this season, so I'm going to go South Carolina.
This is, as Lee Corso says, this is strictly business. I'm going to say not so fast. Give me the Aggies. I think the difference is their defense. Yeah. It's going to be about a 20-17 game. I think A&M's defense makes just enough play. South Carolina is just too inferior. They don't have the offensive power to take down the Aggies. It's honestly the Longhorns' worst enemies. It's A&M versus Spencer Rattler. So if you're a Texas fan, you want some hate watching, tune into this game tomorrow. Ceci?
I'm going to have to agree with Adam here. This is an important game for the Aggies, quite frankly, and Jimbo Fisher's job. Coming off that bye week and that gut-wrenching loss to Alabama 2 weeks ago, the Aggies have to bounce back to prove themselves. This Carolina team has been on and off this year, so I'm going to have the Aggies going on the road and taking care of business, getting them that win, even if it hurts to say.
Time to pick the massive Big 12 matchups. Let's start in Fort Worth tomorrow, 7 o'clock on FS1. Number 17 Kansas State traveling to take on the number 8 Horned Frogs. Ceci, who's your pick in that one?
Bear with me on this one, but I just don't think this TCU team is worth the hype they're getting. thing.
Hot take.
They have stayed undefeated, but with a few close calls that could have gone the other way. And secondly, they haven't played too many notable teams worth the hype of them possibly getting in the CFP. So I think that Kansas State, if they play their cards right, can get this upset in Fort Worth. Adrian Martinez is a huge threat in the field as one of the most accurate QBs in college football right now. And K-State happens to be the only major program, without an interception this season. Ooh. So I say K-State with the upset, giving them making that Big 12 championship race a little more unpredictable.
Not so fast on that one. I preached that this TCU team was overrated early on in the year. I repented of my sins. Max Duggan, what a way to lead his team in the fourth quarter last week against Oklahoma State. I think at home against Kansas State at night going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a higher scoring game. TCU showed, though, they can make plays in the clutch. I think Max Duggan makes just enough plays down the stretch to give the Horned Frogs and Sonny Dykes a massive victory. Manny, what do you think? Yeah,
you know what? Like we said, bet your overs on this one. It's going to be a shootout, absolutely, and I got TCU taking this one. This is very reminiscent of a couple years back when TCU looked like they were going to get into the college football playoff. But I think for this week in itself, I think TCU takes down Kansas State.
Now, finally, the big one in Stillwater, number 20 Texas against number 11 Oklahoma State. Both teams really, really need this game to keep on the potential path to make it to the Big 12 championship game. Each have one loss in conference play. They don't want that second loss. So what is going to go down Stillwater tomorrow afternoon? Manny, let's start with you.
You know, when it comes to playing Texas, you're going to get everybody's best week of practice.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And this is 2:30. Everybody's ready, waiting for this game, ABC. But I'm going to go Texas. I think this is a different team, like we talked about earlier against that Iowa State. I fully don't believe that we win that game last year. I think the coaching staff is able to really have everybody buy into the culture and really understand that they're going to make those second half adjustments if need be. Texas lost so many games last season on the second half after being up big in the first. I think Quinn Ewers and Bijan are able to be that dynamic duo that we know them to be, and Xavier Worthy is going to be Xavier Worthy. So give me Texas in this one.
I think those are some great points. I think Oklahoma State's defense is really porous this year. We saw TCU rip apart in the fourth quarter, and how about former Longhorn tight end scoring the game-tying touchdown. Jared Wiley scoring the game-tying touchdown. I think this Texas offense, they struggled against good Iowa State defense, but I think they're going to make enough plays against this Oklahoma State defense. It's going to be close. Give me Longhorns. Let's go 38-35. It's going to be a shootout.
I'm going to have to agree. I'm going with Texas on this one, but Sark is going to need to prove himself with his play calling. Quinn has to be better and more accurate with his passing. Last game, it was just atrocious. And the defense has got to get the stops and not let up in the third and fourth downs and not letting the opponents convert on those downs. So it's going to come down to that. If Texas stays calm, collected, and consistent with their scoring throughout the game, I think it could be a great game on the road for them. I'm going to go with Texas winning them. It's a close one, but still going to win this one.
It is going to be fun to watch for sure. Well, Ceci, thank you so much for joining us. Manny,
you for having me.
It was a fun one today. Enjoyed hosting alongside you. Shout out to Samantha Pearl back in Master Control, making everything happen behind the scenes. You know, I think her work goes unnoticed on here a lot. So shout out to her for making this show possible behind the scenes. Well, guys, we've got a packed weekend of football. We got F1 in town this weekend, and it's going to be a great weekend of sports. Make sure to join us next Friday at 10 o'clock. We'll recap everything that happens over the next week. You won't want to miss it. But for me, Ceci, Manny, Samantha, Master Control, everyone else, have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next Friday at 10.